Session called to order if we can. We'll have to, Councilman Martin will have to catch up when he gets here. The first item on tonight's work session agenda will be a discussion of the recommendation for Boothe Road and County Road 44, also known as Twin Beech Road. Just a little bit of background. We've had a lot of citizen concerns over this intersection, not really recently, but for many years. And we brought this up at the Street and Traffic Committee meeting, and we quickly realized that this was a pretty big problem, and we didn't think we were going to solve it in that committee meeting. So the recommendation to the council was to ask the mayor to form a study group to look at this and come back with some recommendations, because it was there's probably some short-term solutions and maybe some long-term solutions to that we thought best to be studied outside of the streets committee meeting, which, you know, they don't last that long, and we didn't have all the tools we needed to come up with some more recommendations. So would it be you, Mayor, or who's going to give a summary of these recommendations? Will it be you?
I can give a summary, and then if necessary, I can have Officer Hamrick's back there, and also Hunter can jump in. So basically, the committee met, and it was myself and Hunter from planning. We had police department. John was there from the police department. We also had John Cardwell, principal at the Fairhope High School, because it impacts school traffic. We had some neighborhood representatives who actually happened to be a sheriff who lives right there in the neighborhood adjacent to there. So had some good representation on the committee, but what we recommended was that the speed limit be reduced from 45 to 35, from Highway 98 to 13, that we extend the sidewalk on the northeast. There's a section of sidewalk that's missing. I think it's on the northeast corner, northeast, I believe, corner. About 100 feet of sidewalk that we think needs to be replaced, and also add crosswalks across Boothe, and also across across 44. So you would create a more pedestrian-friendly area there. You would slow the speed limit down. People won't be going, hopefully they'll be going 45 instead of 55, since it's 35. I think that's the rule of thumb. So, and also, again, extending that sidewalk to let people cross safely. But ultimately, we know that it's going to require a four-way stop. It's also probably going to require a traffic signal and pedestrian signals at that intersection. That's something that we would probably want to discuss with the MPO.
Mayor, does when you say the lowering the speed limit, that's on Boothe Road, right? The
no,
45.
That's on Twin 44. Beech. That's on Twin Beech.
You said between Highway 98 and 33 on 44. Okay, I read that wrong.
On
okay,
44.
I'm with you. Yeah, okay. We're going along 44. So,
correct. So
my question would be: is that city jurisdiction or is that county jurisdiction? Can we lower a speed limit in that area? I'm looking at Officer Hamrick.
It's ours.
It is ours to do?
We go all the way to 13.
Correct.
Okay.
And was suggested that we may even talk to the county about extending that out further, but we do know that that's in our jurisdiction and something that we can do fairly quickly.
And on the, so akin to that, the crosswalk, obviously, if we can change speed limits, we can paint the roads there.
Correct.
We have that jurisdiction, and also the sidewalks. And I see a note waiting on Public Works, the cost from Public Works. Would we ask our Public Works Department to construct them?
We would. It's be 100 feet of sidewalk.
Okay. So, Council, I would ask you to, you know, if you have questions, Mayor or Lieutenant Hamrick, if we can, you know, I would ask, well, let me ask you that before I would ask the council to try to move this along quickly, but do you think the speed limit's not going to cost us anything but the cost of a few signs, right? And then the crosswalk, I'm assuming, is really cheap.
Right.
And I don't know, 100 feet of sidewalk's probably not all that expensive. Did you happen to put that in the budget yet?
I have not put that in the budget yet. I don't even have a cost on it yet, so I'm waiting on that.
Okay, I didn't know if you had a placeholder for that.
And I would ask, if I missed anything that we discussed, Hunter? No, that we need to.
I think it was the southeast corner.
Southeast corner, okay. The southeast corner, not the northeast.
Oh, yeah, the sidewalk, yeah.
Yes.
Yep, we got it in here. Council, thoughts? Thoughts on that?
Sounds good.
I do know that the MPO is going to discuss this intersection. I think Councilman Burrell knows that too at our next meeting. It may be more from a planning perspective, but again, I do think the signal is going to be warranted there at some point. So I think, the discussion will end up with a signal.
Well, what my thoughts were, Mayor and Council, on maybe involving the MPO is that, MPO has certain funds set aside for planning purposes and study, and if we needed any more traffic studies done there, or if we needed to pay someone to look at other designs for that intersection, if we wanted to get creative and maybe put in landscaping, whether we bring it out into the street, whether it's a speed table, just whatever you could think of. Don't take anything I'm saying now as my ideas. I'm just throwing things out there, but we might be able to get them to pay for a study to determine, we've always said we're going to beautify, the east side of 98 more, and so I could also envision things like planters and things being used to visually slow people down. I mean, that's been talked about. So if we needed somebody to pay for studying that, I think we might could get them to do it.
Okay.
Council, do you, I would say, and I want to hear from you, and I'm sure the clerk wants to know, and the mayor wants to know, if you're in agreement with these three items, I don't really think that they would hinder us from doing something more in the future. So we could get on the next council meeting a resolution together to enact these measures, if y'all are in agreement.
Yeah, sounds good.
I have no problem with it.
Okay.
Councilman Burrell, Mr. Richard Johnson, Public Works Director, just messaged me and said 100 feet would be no more than $1,500 of materials, and they ought to be able to absorb that in the maintenance budget.
Well, including the cost of concrete? Wow.
It's only 6 yards of concrete.
All right.
6.5 yards, 100 feet.
Okay.
5 feet wide.
Texting back, so that sounds good.
I'm sure he's listening.
Richard, thank you. All right, so am I hearing, I think I'm hearing unanimously, let's get it on the next agenda for a resolution to adopt these recommendations and enact it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no, thank you. Were there any other, were there any other studies? I think we were going to ask you to look at
Hope Farm.
Nichols Avenue there just to the east of 98. Have y'all met on that yet?
We don't. It's next week.
Next week? Okay. All right. All right, we'll move to item 2, budget discussions. Does anybody have anything in particular for, I thought it'd be a good idea to bring it up, but does anybody have anything in particular for the mayor and or the treasurer or Jill in regards to the budget? I'll kind of break the ice and just say that I feel pretty good about I don't say pretty good, I feel very good about the revenue projections when, and I've stated this, that we've had questions in the past that you don't go out and spend money on your household budget until you know what your income is going to be. And I think that this year's budget does a really good job of projecting revenues, conservative where it needs to be and not conservative where it doesn't need to be. So thank you all for giving us good revenue projections. And once you get revenue projections that make sense to us, expenditures, mayor and the department heads know more than the council what expenses you're going to have. And of course, there's always some wants and maybe some luxury items in there, and it's up to us to try to look at that. I know that the mayor did a good job of trimming a lot of that out. So I haven't seen a whole lot yet that jumps off the pages with me other than we've discussed. Kim and Mayor and Councilman Martin participated in that meeting by telephone. But I did have one question. I don't know, maybe Kim, if I might address this to you, and this has to do with Public Works and in particular the sanitation department. If I can get you to come to the podium maybe so people can hear this. I'm starting to get a little bit concerned about our revenues in our sanitation department and the cost that it takes to collect our garbage, and I know that we just had some annual increases. I think that we had the last one last year, so I want to hear your thoughts about where you think we are on revenues for sanitation department, because to me and boy, I really hate saying this, but to me they look a little low. They look a little low.
Yes, we have in the budget, you'll see there is a shortfall in the garbage division. And just trying to look, our rates is $15.80 a month. I'll just give you an example of Baldwin County Commission is for once a week service.
You said it's what now? Tell me, it's 1580 or 16?
1580.
1580.
It's $15.80
Right.
a month. And for the city of Fairhope, that's twice a week service plus recycle. Just to give you an example, is Baldwin County Commission is once a week service at $16 a month. Uno Island for Baldwin County, just a small subdivision, that's the only, that they do that subdivision, and they do down Fort Morgan Road twice a week. Fort Morgan Road is just seasonal from March through October. Those rates are $33 a month. You know, what you want to be able to do is to capture your costs. You want your revenues, you know, you're not trying to make money, you want to try to cover your cost, and at $15.80, you're not covering your costs for twice a week service. Y'all did do an increase the past couple of years. The last increase was last year, so this year's revenue, you know, is flat, but our costs keep going up. So, you know, coming from looking at your revenues are just not covering the cost.
You said they're flat, but we're growing so fast, I would expect them to go up.
You are, but your costs are going up with that.
Oh, you mean our profits?
No, our costs.
I mean,
Overhead.
well, I thought you
Overhead.
meant maybe you said our revenue's not going up, though it's flat.
So our revenues are not going up.
Net revenue then.
Yeah, along with our cost.
Right.
So it's.
Do you have a recommendation for that?
I mean, that's.
Put you on the spot on
Yeah,
that.
you put me on the spot. I mean.
Nobody up here wants to say anything like that, so we'll
I
put you on
know
the
that,
spot.
when
Put Hunter up here next.
last year
See him
that,
laughing back there at you.
City of Daphne put out theirs on an RFP, their rates, and I believe those private companies came in around $21, $22 a month, so that's probably where you need to be, and it's just trying to figure out how you're gonna get there.
What's Daphne? How many times a week do they collect?
Richard's not here, so,
Text us, Richard.
I think they went to.
Text the mayor and
once a
answer,
week.
Richard. This Zoom stuff's great.
Yeah. So I think they went to once a week, that we're one of the last cities to continue with twice a week. And I know that's important to y'all, to the citizens for that service, but you're going to have to, you know, increase your rates to go up to be able to meet those costs.
I don't have a problem. If we can provide twice the service at the same cost, that's pretty darn efficient to me. But I would like to keep them to as low as we could possibly keep it, because I guess we've just subsidized it with other things. Thoughts, council? I mean, it's something we don't want to get too far behind the curve on this. Nobody wants to talk about rate increases, but we also should be.
We shouldn't be losing.
We should be smart business people.
That's right. We shouldn't be losing on providing the service. We should just break even on garbage pickup. We shouldn't be making money, but we should be breaking even. And, you know, I've said before many times in the meeting, you know, I did a little unofficial survey when this topic came up last year. You know, drop it to once a week or leave it at twice a week, and it was 75% of people that responded were to keep it twice a week and charge me whatever it costs. I know not everybody's going to have that opinion, but 75% of the people that responded said leave it twice a week and increase the rate.
I mean, I think your unofficial poll, Councilman Brown's pretty similar to my unofficial poll. That's about the feedback that I get as well.
Well, it's simple, it's simple economics.
You're losing money.
If you're gonna do it twice a week and you're losing money, you gotta go up on the rate or cut the rate or cut the times. Since
But
everybody
now-
wants to do it, doesn't mind paying for it, you have to up the rate.
But I don't know that I would want numbers to support going up to Daphne's numbers. I don't want to go to somebody else's numbers for the sake of matching their numbers. I want to go to the number that we need to.
Well, yeah, I think we just look at our cash flow and just try to
Yeah, I mean,
break even with what we're.
Could you tell us, based on this year's budget, what we would need? Now, there's some other things in there too. There's, like you said, there's sometimes wants and not needs in the budget. So it needs to be, where are we at with just the basic necessities? Where does that put us,
Yeah, I can come back to you to look at the customer count, look at what, $1, $2, and look at our cost, because that's where you want to look at what you want your revenue to cover your costs. And, even if you had, set your rates and you have some good year that you put some money into a reserve for that future truck, because that's what hits us, is when all of a sudden we're needing a $300,000 truck or a trash truck, and that's where you want to be able to watch those, revenues to make sure it's covering your future expense along with your current expense.
And Daphne is at once a week, no recycling, and they're right at $19 an hour, right to $19, and it's $18.60, I believe.
Is that done, is that still done by the city of Daphne, or did that go privatized?
I think they chose to continue to do it after they put it out for bid.
It went private
The city
for a short
decided to
period.
continue doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
But you did say once a week, right?
Once a week, and no recycling,
And no recycling?
no recycling. They discontinued recycling, I think but they are looking at starting that service back up. They currently do not recycle.
So we have 3 pickups a week compared to their 1, basically. Yeah, because our garbage runs twice and recycling once.
Correct.
How often do they run debris removal?
Once a week.
We do debris removal once a week.
Oh, yeah, we did once a week.
We have 4 pickups.
Yep.
That's pretty remarkable employees. That's pretty remarkable.
And something else to consider, whether you go back to 1 day a week, if you consider that option, and I talked to Mayor Sullivan about this scenario this year, or past year, during the holidays where you had Christmas and New Year's on a Friday, if that scenario happens that falls on the garbage pickup day, then the staff is struggling trying to figure out how to reschedule and let everybody know what day that pickup day is. Some years you're going to get it once a week because of the way holidays fall.
Yeah. That may be weeks that you do it twice a week. I mean, it may be if you ever did that, and I'm not suggesting we do, but if we did, it might be that, Christmas and New Year's week, we add a shift and we put that in the budget, and they pick up twice, depending on what day it falls on. I don't know. We might need to think about adjusting that schedule around those weeks anyway. I know that some people, it benefits some people some years, and other years benefits others. So, Kim, can I ask you to, Council, with your permission, can I ask Kim to put us some numbers together and present at the next work session?
Yep.
And Councilman Martin, we're on budget discussion, so that was just a question that I'd had about sanitation. I'd noticed, we were falling a little behind on that, so I asked that question. So it's open discussion if you have any questions about the budget right now.
I
know that it's a lot.
I don't know if mine's so much a question as maybe an observation, but I know in my conversation with the mayor and Jill and the utility department heads, we still have a lot of work to do to catch up on some of our infrastructure. And we'd had conversations about borrowing money. My personal thought is if we could establish a line of credit, and that way we're not tied down to making interest payments on money that we may or may not be able to spend or may not need. But if we had a line of credit that was in place for a long enough period that we could at least get the work done, then we could look at terming out any balance if there was any balance at the end. We may be able to complete everything and pay for it out of cash flow. I don't think we want to wait and try to cash flow the entire project. I think we want to borrow the money on a line of credit that we can or that we need to, and then we can always repay it if it's not needed. If we can't get the work done, there's a finite amount of work that you can get accomplished even if you had the available resources. But I still think that we're lagging on some areas. I'd like to see us push where we can to get that wrapped up, and I'd feel better if we had a cushion spend your rainy day fund first, but have that line of credit in place to, you know, to fill that in after the fact.
Let me, may I?
Sure, go ahead.
So I agree with you. I do want to make one clarification, and I just want to make one other comment, and that is, you said rainy day fund, but you don't mean go into the rainy day fund first. We would go into specific utility reserves first, because that's what they're for. So we would dip into those reserves, which are specifically for that purpose.
Right.
And I'll give you an example, the electrical, if we dipped into the reserves, I think that we could dip into that fund for about 2 years. But at that point, we would be so caught up with the electrical substation upgrades that we would not have to borrow money. But if we could get ahead of that curve, you know, we could maybe go into the line of credit. So I don't think it's a bad idea, but the plan is still to not dip into the line of credit unless absolutely necessary. And it's not the rainy day fund. That's,
right.
That's in the government. It would be in the utility,
Utilities.
various utility reserve funds. And likewise, in some of the other utilities, we could dip into those reserve funds. So we do have some cash reserves. We can go into those unless we were fortunate enough to accelerate the improvements enough to have to go out and borrow money short term. Either way, we would pay back those loans very quickly.
Right.
But I don't even know, as Jimmy pointed out, I don't know that we can put stuff in the ground fast enough to outpace the spending.
Right, I mean, you only can accomplish so much unless you wanted to shut the whole town down and tear up all the roads at one time, so I think that...
Is that what you recommended, Jimmy?
That is not a recommendation from me, by the way.
You're on wax.
So I think, you know, rates are super low right now, and they're probably not ever going to be any lower. I still would rather do it on a line of credit than to be committed to borrowing a large term amount because of the ability to hopefully cash flow it and get caught up with that within a couple years. The numbers I think we've kicked around was somewhere in the $10 million range for a line of credit, maybe higher, 10 to 15, somewhere in that range. I think that I would certainly be interested to see what kind of terms we could get, rate and length. You know, someone will go out longer than the norm on a line of credit, 3 years, 5 years, something like that would be ideal. I would think we'd have everything funded and hopefully repaid within that kind of a time frame.
So how long of a line of credit do you think we would have, Jimmy? You said that. I'm trying to connect my computer.
I think somewhere in the 3 to 5 year range is probably longer than what they normally are looking in the 1 to 3 year range, I would think. But I think 5 would, if someone would go that far and would lock down a low rate, you know, that's where I would want to compare, you know, 3 year versus a 5 year maybe.
And just to open the conversation, clearly we're speaking on having money to go to work immediately, is what you're saying.
Right, and I think we've got
a particular item as far as...
Well, we've
got the money, so this is almost, initially, this is almost the cushion so that we can go ahead and spend our reserves.
I understand, I want the public to understand.
So we'll spend our reserves first, then tap into the line and proceed with all the upgrades that we need. Now, you're gonna have to outsource some of that, and then there's still only a certain amount that you can realistically accomplish in any given year.
Yeah, but if we were to borrow, this would be the time.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
That's right. And then just hedging the bet that if we were to get in a situation where we depleted the reserves and we did have to borrow some money, if we lock in the rates now, we would be borrowing at a much lower rate than anything, you know, down the road.
Correct.
So.
One thing I think you also need to understand is Fairhope's been notorious for the last 30 years of putting Band-Aids on these fixes when they run into a problem. And I believe you're going to seriously run into some problems when you start doing a Church Street project. And we do not want to put Band-Aids on this for the fear that it's not in the budget. We want to fix these with a 10 to 15, 20-year future life of whatever we're going to fix. And we don't want to worry about the fact that, well, that wasn't in the budget, we didn't know about it. Well, we need to have this set aside in order so that the Fairhope can get back into not putting Band-Aids on the problems and fixing these for a 10, 15, or 20-year life expectancy.
And I think it's created a lot of challenges for the utilities, because
Again, that's just one example. There's, in the utility business, there's a zillion unforeseen problems you can run into, and when they start adding up, you want to be able to fix them in a proper fashion. We've got to get out of this mindset of let's just, we'll fix it now, we'll worry about it next month.
I don't know about any Band-Aids in the last 8 years, Kevin. I don't know what you're talking about.
You just let it bleed.
No, sir.
But I agree. I think Kevin's right on point. I think if we're going to do it, we're going to do it correctly, and we shouldn't be worried about any type of. We should always worry about fiscal responsibility, but I think we should get the job done correctly. And now's the time to borrow the money.
As a backup plan.
For contingencies.
Asterisk on that.
So do you want to ask Kim to put out an RFP for a line of credit?
Absolutely, and I would say.
I don't think we need a resolution for that. I think that just an RFP, we can informally ask you to go out with an RFP for a line of credit. Anybody got it? Is that correct? Okay, what amount? What are you thinking, Jimmy? Throw it out there.
I'm thinking
15?
10 to 15 would probably be sufficient, hopefully.
5-year line of credit, 15 years?
3-year, 5-year quote, maybe get both just to see if there's a big gap in what the rates are.
15.
Yeah, that'll be good. Yep, sounds good. I know the utility departments, they need some relief. They need to get some of this cleaned up and behind them so that they can focus on new services that they're adding.
Other questions? Kevin?
Nope.
Corey?
I don't know right now.
Jimmy?
Let's see.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I've got a few other notes in here. Let me just find what I had notes on. But someone else feel free to jump in while I'm looking for this. I know we'd have, I know the proposed budget as it is shows a deficit, so what are our thoughts on cleaning that just from additional transfer from utilities or making cuts in expenses? What is everybody's thoughts on?
What was the
600-something thousand deficit as proposed?
There were 3 examples. There was 3 examples given that would balance the budget. It started at 8% of the pilot.
Right.
And went up to 13.5. And then she also gave a back list of things that she would cut, itemized list that would put us there. And we're still, when I did the math, we were like $10,000 off. But
13 1/4 is what it would take to balance it.
Correct.
As is. That's without cutting anything.
Correct.
You could always make some cuts and transfer less.
How do you take more from utilities when we need so much in utilities, though?
I don't know
how you do it. I mean,
grandmother used to say, rob Peter to pay Paul.
Well, we're going to be dipping into our reserve accounts. We're already robbing Peter to pay Paul on that. We don't have enough income to support all the infrastructure, so we're going to dip into reserves to do that. I mean, you could just dip further in reserves and make an additional transfer. You could do that in hopes that you never outpace yourself. Or you could do a hybrid. You could put a pilot fee in, and then you could cut expenses. I'm always a cutter myself.
And that's exactly what I would ask you to do. I mean, and I think in our budget discussions, and I appreciate how open the council has been to meeting long hours talking about this, and the department staff, how hard they've worked and have spent extra time meeting with the council to help you understand the challenges we face this year. But again, I think that 6-month review is going to be crucial this year. Right. I mean, to look at cutting expenses to hopefully we wouldn't have to transfer anymore. Right. So I do think that 6-month window for us to look at it and see where we are on revenues could play a big factor in what we have to transfer, because we just don't know what to expect.
I think, Mayor, so to me, when you cut expenses sometimes and you start doing a little better than you thought, which is a possibility, things may loosen up more as we get this vaccines more spread out. The other revenue source, I don't know, I'd have to go back, I don't remember what we have in there, Kim, you may can help me, is our sales tax revenue that we get from the state for our online sales. And that's been going up a lot, and with people sitting at home shopping online, you know, if y'all have been watching the news, online sales have gone through the roof. So that may be, we can't budget for it because we don't have a firm number, but we may get positive numbers there. We would hope that we would, but we don't know. And council, there's other revenue streams that we have that by law we can't put in the budget. We just, you can't say the court's going to make this amount of money.
Right.
But you know it's not going to make zero.
Right.
Well, and then there's the other thing that I think we've brought up in years past as well, is that we built a budget based on as if all the open positions are filled, but those would be filled gradually.
That brings up a question then. So, Mayor or Kim or Jill, when you put in the budget a new position for anywhere, whether it be government or utilities, did you put them in at a 12-month rate, or did you put them in at a, say, an 8 or a 9-month rate of pay for the fiscal year?
Yeah, 12-month annual.
That's
what I'm
exactly
saying.
what you're saying. No, I know, that's exactly what you're saying. I just said it a different way.
Right,
so
right.
we already have some savings because here we are almost February and haven't filled some of those, but I'm going to ask Terry in department head updates where he's at on that. And I know we have a lot of hires to make, so we have a little bit of fluff in the budget there, which will help.
But you always got to be prepared that the next year you're going to have those.
But you got to put it in, you got to carry it forward. And I think you do right by putting it in there. I'm not ever asking you to prorate it. You're doing right, but we know we have a little bit of padding in there because of that. I did think of a question, speaking of employee cost, Mayor. You might want to mention, I know our employees want to know, and maybe the council can tell us where they stand, is the recommendation for raises this year. I believe you've put in an across-the-board 2% raise for everyone, and I would caution you not to call it a cost of living because we're not tying it into a cost of living. It's just a 2% raise. And then there is money put in for merit raises, kind of scattered throughout, but nobody would get less than 2%, except maybe there are some people maxed out. We could talk about that.
That's correct. That's correct.
Council, are we all okay with that too? Because we need to, well, I think it'd be nice to let the mayor know, and that's a big change, and I'm okay with that. I think that's
The other thing that's in the budget when you come to salaries too are I gave you some additional documentation on like the building department and also on the police department, and that's also reflected in your budget scenarios. So that's something that I would ask you to also look at.
right. I would, yeah, we've been saying this for years and years, and I haven't seen it yet, and I don't know if the Auburn study ever put the information out, but we really need to let our employees know what their true total compensation is. You know, there was a time, it was a couple of years ago maybe, Officer Hamrick, I'm going to look at you, that a competing municipality was going after, maybe not going after our police officers, but they were offering some pay which may appear higher, but maybe their cost of insurance offsets that raise that they're getting, or other benefits, whether they're driving a cruiser home, you know, things like that. We have got to get that to our people to let them know what their total compensation is, because it's more than a salary here. And we just need to let people know when they think about leaving the city for whatever amount of higher pay they think they're going to get, it's not just about what they're earning per hour or per month. It's about what your total compensation is. Council, other questions right now?
I had one question, and you brought it up as far as the online sales and sales tax revenue. Are they projected in these numbers that we have? Or has it not gone along far enough to project them? I mean, I think we've only been doing that, what, 2 years?
So what's projected in there is what our sales was last year, but on the sales tax report I sent out to y'all a week or so ago, you can tell the simplified seller's use tax, which is commonly known as the Amazon tax. You can tell the first quarter is up 52% from last year. So that's some adjustment that we can do by looking at just the increase from last year to this quarter this year. Look at that difference, adding that to the revenue. We haven't done that.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
That's all
I knew it was up significantly.
Yeah, that's all I was wondering.
That's even exceeding what I thought.
Projected in there, yeah. I mean, these numbers are pretty good.
Yeah.
38 to 550K, 38K to 550K.
Yeah.
There's a question mark that I had.
There's your pilot fee.
But the 550,000 to Councilman Martin does not include the increase that Kim's speaking about either.
Yeah, that was last year.
That was last year.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just,
Yeah.
Yeah, so for the
It's there.
first quarter, if every quarter was
Actually, boom.
125 and you're up 50%, you're up at, what, 200?
Right.
185, 190?
Yeah.
That's why I say that 6-month budget evaluation is going to be crucial for us this year, because it's just hard to know what to expect, because last year was such a crazy year.
I got to ask this, you say that like it may not happen. Is there a reason
May not.
I'm hearing it that way, or?
No, I think
It's got to
that- no, I
happen. This
think-
has got to happen.
Yeah, I know, I think
I'm
that
just making
absolutely,
sure.
but I mean, as you're looking at the budget, and if you get ready to pass it and you're apprehensive about it, just know that I really do believe that at 6 months, we're going to be in a much better spot than we're projecting right now.
Yeah.
and I would rather be conservative at
Me
this
too.
Yeah, I
time
would too.
than to
Me
be
too.
on the aggressive
Right.
side.
It could, there are still people that are very much hurting from this pandemic, and, they are eventually going to run out of disposable income, and, those sales could, they could decline. So I like what Councilman Martin said. Let's be conservative, but know in the back of our mind, we've got a little bit of a hedge. Good question, though. Got a good answer.
No, there was one more question that I had, and I was just noticing it was on our charitable income.
Jimmy.
I think I saw that. It went from, and maybe it would say, community grants, 20,000 to 200,000.
What tab is that on?
That's on, that's on page 2.
Tab 2.
Is that something that we just,
What line item is that? Who is that to, Corey?
it's on general administrative, page 2. I didn't know if it was just a typo or if it was,
On grants?
Yeah, community grants. Yes, ma'am.
200,000, that's the $200,000 grant.
All right, there's extra money, that's great.
It's not extra money. It's gonna be a fire department.
See, I left my budget book sitting on my desk again.
The fire department is their share of the truck.
Okay.
Okay, so that's really, not really going to the community. That's something that was in the budget last year.
Right.
They just didn't get the fire truck.
Correct.
So
We just-
it carried forward,
Carried
Correct.
it. Okay, very good.
carried forward as income,
Okay,
I guess, too.
very good.
Carried forward over as income, too, didn't it? Yeah. Whew. Scare me like that, Corey.
Hey, I have to ask. Yeah.
It's a great question. I'm glad you're paying attention.
Yeah.
You see the fire chief back there smiling behind his mask here. His mask got tight, he's smiling. His ear went forward a little bit. What else you got, Jimmy?
Nothing jumping out at me at the moment.
While they're looking, Mayor, is there anything that you want to point out to us that we should be paying attention to that we're missing?
I don't think so. I mean, again, I just want to thank the council and the department heads for being patient. I mean, anytime there's a transition, I mean, I wanted to go through every number and know what I was looking at, and y'all have been very accommodating and having long meetings talking about the budget and, you know, having a lot of discussion, especially with utilities. So thank y'all for making time to do that. I think it's important that we, you know, we paint a clear picture for the council of what we're up against from an infrastructure standpoint and where we need to be on the money side. So thank you for, you know, really taking time to study that this year. I appreciate it.
Council, when we pass the budget, should we make those raises retroactive to a certain date? Because we're dragging our feet on that. We're not trying to drag our feet, we're taking our time, let me say that. How far back should we go?
You
Can't do that legally?
State law.
I don't think you can.
Well, then let's try to get part of that passed ASAP then. You know, we can always pass portions of the budget. If we have a section we want to pass because we owe that to the employees to get that, you know, it's going to be February, and we need to get that done. So if we don't have any issues with any of the compensation, let's try to get that passed next meeting at a minimum, because that's, I wouldn't say hurting, but it's certainly not helping employees.
I would love to see us pass the budget in February. I mean, even if it's
Oh,
the
yeah.
second
No,
meeting.
I'm just saying, I don't know if we're ready. The next meeting, we might be.
Right.
Be close. But let's get part of it for sure. Let's knock out what we can.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Let's try to get some sections on there.
Yeah.
Saw you here move forward, Jason. You smiling too? No, you're not smiling. You're mad.
I think the personnel cost in particular, like the new employees, like I know Jason has a few new employees. I think those are, you know, so instrumental in getting the work done and the utilities that need to get done. That's really important to them. So that's probably why I was smiling back there. But
Well, I was
again,
trying to give him a hard time because I said that the chief back there was smiling, and when the bands get tighter on that mask, your ears move forward, so. What else you got, council? And let me also say, if we ever need to have another budget meeting or a special call meeting or a work session to talk about this, I'm ready and willing to do that. I mean, even if it's for an hour and a half, let's move it forward. I think we may have done that last year, or 4 years ago, or last year. Or every year, I don't know. Robert and Kevin stalled it every year. All right, if y'all, I'll give you another few seconds, and we're going to move to committee updates. All right. All right, Councilman Martin. Committee updates.
I believe on our, you have to forgive me, I believe this fog thing is real. Our Fairhope Environmental Advisory Board, we have 2 new members, and that's on the agenda. So we'll like to welcome them as it comes to the table. Other than that, I have nothing.
Okay. Councilman Conyers.
I don't have a lot to report, but I do have a couple committees that I serve on that have been lacking membership. They've had some interested parties reach out, so currently I don't think they even have a quorum, so I don't know, Lisa, if there's a special process I would need to go through to adding members if there's not really enough of an existing membership to make a recommendation to the council, or just go ahead and bring it on before the council. And
You talking about the recycling committee?
Recycling.
I wouldn't do it until you have enough.
What's that?
I wouldn't do it until you have enough for a quorum.
Okay. All right, well, I think we're still 1 or 2 short of that then. All right, so I don't have any other updates.
Okay. Councilman Brown?
Yeah, we've got 2 appointments to the pedestrian and bicycle committee tonight, so we're still getting applicants for that one.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All right. Councilman Boone?
I have nothing to report.
I've got several items. We were sent some applications for the Board of Adjustments. I didn't reply to everybody because I didn't want to debate, but I did, who did I reply back to? Did I reply to you, Hunter? And I believe I copied the mayor. The mayor had mentioned a couple of applicants that, I think all 4 of the applicants would make, we have 2 openings, all 4 would make good members. I think that she had mentioned 2 in particular. Go back and read your email and then let Hunter or the mayor, don't reply all on that, and just maybe concur so that we can move forward with filling some vacancies on the Board of Adjustments and Appeals. So I thank you for that. Airport Authority, a lot going on there. I know that the chairman and some of the other members have taken some of the council members out for tours and talked about what's going on out there. I want to talk about 2 items of interest to the council for sure, maybe 3 items that are of interest to the council. Number 1 is we want to build some hangars. I'll wear the Airport Authority hat for a moment. We want to build hangars on the east side. We want to build 20 hangars. We had 28 deposits, which means we could fill all 20 and have a waiting list of 8 persons. I had told the Airport Authority, let me put my council hat on now, that I would support the city co-signing on that loan to get them a much, much better rate. With the city's financial backing, they can get a rate much, much better than they can get going out on their own. But I also said that I would not support that if the numbers didn't show that they were in the black on that construction and rent and making that note. And some of the numbers that I was initially presented, and Corey Martin, you can maybe back me up here,
yeah.
They didn't look that favorable to me, and I wasn't happy with those numbers. And I had, so when I told them I wouldn't support that from a city council standpoint, I don't know if I don't think they got upset, but I just said we need to sharpen our pencil and come up with better numbers. So I would ask the council to keep an open mind in backing them if we can come up with numbers that make sense. And I didn't base it on 100% occupancy. We're basing it on less than 100% occupancy. But I believe that if they will take some recommendations for me and some others on the authority to increase the projected rent and get a lower rate, that they can cash flow that, and then they could use that money for other improvements that they need. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to be, and also the construction of those hangars needs to be a reasonable cost, and I've cautioned them to not go out and state a number that's inflated, because when somebody hears that number, they think that's your budget, and that construction cost is going to go right to that number. We all have reason to believe that the number that's been floated out there was a little bit high. So I think we need to go out and get estimates without putting a number in people's heads. So I ask you to consider that. The second thing is that the Airport Authority would like to refinance their bond. Now, bond is not your standard bond issuance that you think of. It is actually have been done more recently through a local bank refinancing, but it has all these encumbrances, and it was originally attached to the bond, so all of that has to follow the refinancing. So it's basically a bond issuance or a refinancing. So we're looking at refinancing that just to take advantage of these historically low interest rates. And I have worked with our treasurer, Kim, and she has been working with the chairman, Joe McInerney, to come up with something that would take advantage of the lower rates, and we're going to put out an RFP. We'll come back. We're backing that note now, so I would hope that we would back. We're paying most of it now, but this will further the dependence of the, it would further the independence of the Airport Authority, reduce the dependence on the city, and what we're proposing is initially increasing the amount of principal amount that's paid every year by what, 30,000, is it? Is it 220 in this last year, or 200 right now?
320.
No, not the total that we're giving, the principal, only the principal that we're paying.
I got you.
Yeah, the principal payment is 225.
Yeah.
So we were proposing it to go from 225 to 250, and then in a couple of 2 or 3 years to go all the way to 275. So it's going to go up by as much as $50,000 a year with no additional commitment from the city. And if they start getting some other sources of revenue, we're hopefully going to wean them further off, another $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year, wean them off the city. And then, of course, the tall pole in the tent is to get some land sales on the west side of the airport. And the airport authority is working on that as well to reduce the principal amount. All the land sales would go to reducing the principal amount. So a lot going on there. I need to make you all aware. I want to make sure.
So focusing on shortening the amortization rather than lowering the payment?
No, the amortization would actually be increased because right now it's a 7-year note, I believe, with a balloon payment. It would go to a 7-year note with another balloon payment, which I don't like kicking a can, but right now the schedule, we'll be paying a lot more principal off.
But if we're paying more principal, the amortization is going to decrease, so we'll be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We'll be shortening
we're
that.
paying it, yeah, we're paying it down a lot quicker.
Okay.
Unless the city wants to commit to $500,000 a year, we're going to have to live with that balloon note until we can get it manageable.
And that was going to be another question.
Let me tell you
Would
some
anybody
stuff.
consider refinancing it and fully terminating it out, or is it just too far?
Well, we could do that. We could come up with a long-term note, but you're going to wind up with a lot more commitment from the city. I want to hold the airport authority's feet to the fire
Right.
and have them
Try to
pay
be
as much as
independent.
possible. Corey, I know your mind's turning over there. So we also had a presentation from an individual who has an impeccable resume, who would like to help out the airport authority on a contingency basis. Basically, whatever they bring in, they're asking for a percentage of that. I think we have to look at that, and maybe, Corey, I'm kind of speaking out loud, maybe there may have to be some limits on that, because if somebody went out and got a $5 million grant and you paid them a 10% fee, to pay them $500,000 for that may be excessive, and I don't know that you could use the grant proceeds to pay them, and we don't have $500,000 to pay them. So there's some.
Yeah, and no one would write a balloon
I'm making
contract. No one would, some people would write a balloon contract like that, but reasonable people and responsible people don't write contracts quite like that for the public to see. That's more of a backdoor deal. But what we're trying to do is get the city 100% and the public aware of what the airport is and why we have the airport and why the public dollars are going to the city. And we believe that there's a proposal or a plan, and there's grant money out there, free money, that we can use because we're a GA airport that can get us or the airport off of our backs as the city. And I believe that having an airport manager, someone that is full-time, that it's its job to do that, and the responsibility fiscally every year to bring in that revenue. And at the beginning, he proves himself, and then he gets the job. But I believe that we need a point person on that to get that off our backs, since we have this balloon amortization going on. I think that'll help us tremendously.
I don't disagree. Well, we do need to ask the question, though. I mean, there are, we've had multiple people working on grant applications, and maybe they're not airport experts, but we've had Baldwin County EDA looking at grants. We've had our own grants writer. We've had the airport authority. We've asked our congressmen if there were monies available. We've asked our senators if there's money available. So, I do want to know what ideas this person may have for seeking that grant money that we haven't asked for. I hope that there's a lot of money we haven't asked for that's available. I hope that's the answer.
Yeah.
And I look forward to learning more.
Yeah.
So that's a long airport authority update, but with that, I'll move to department head updates. And Kim? Okay. Terry?
I guess I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So we've got the 2 replacement employees that I have out there for the applicants. 2 have been selected and turned into HR. So I'm just waiting to hear back from that. And as soon as the budget passes, I'll do the other two, and we'll be good to go. As soon as we can rock and roll with the truck in, I'll have another full crew out there that is capable of doing some catch-up work.
Right.
They're going to be more selective of doing some leak calls and stuff that we are really behind our work because of, and they'll be selected to do that mostly, and then put on services and mains as needed, as they can get away from that.
So we should be able to field an entire crew here as soon as we pass that, and that's to that component of the budget, you know, dealing with personnel. The faster we get that approved, the faster, you know, just this one department we're talking about can get a full crew out there. They're out making repairs, and we need to make repairs, but we need to put new service in the ground, because that's what we're out there to do. Faster we get the new service in the ground, faster we can get more revenue to pay for those repairs. That infrastructure that we need.
The less we have to turn down not being able to get services to, yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to turn that. We don't want to turn good money down.
I totally agree.
Okay. So these two will start when?
I'm waiting to hear from HR as to when they're selected to start.
Okay. All right.
It has been turned in, so just
okay.
Waiting for that. And on top of that, right now we're sitting on about 180 services been replaced downtown. And we've installed about 130, 120 anodes on the other risers. So we're getting real close to our number that we need to be at right now.
Yeah.
Is it 400, is that the number?
Sir?
400, is that what we need to hit?
Yeah, 420, somewhere in the ballpark is, you know, we're close to that for the 30%.
Gotcha.
Sewer department gets all the press when it comes to infrastructure. They get most of the press, and the gas department has just got a ton of work to be done, and we've all talked about cast iron replacement for years, and we're working on that, but there's a whole lot of other infrastructure that is going on that's in this budget that we're going to be tackling with the gas department. So you're going to have a busy year, aren't you?
Yes, it's been busy, and it's going to continue to be busy, yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for Terry?
I just want to tell him, thank you, man.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, you've been busting your butt. I was going to say something else, but I can't. But I'm proud of that, you guys and the service that you've been doing, and keep working hard, man. It's not gone unnoticed.
Yeah,
we're going to do our job to get you the help that you need.
Yeah, as Kevin said, we most definitely got handed a bucket of to-do items.
Yeah.
And the only thing we can do is one day at a time. I mean, you know, we can try our best to get them.
Yeah.
Glad you're back.
God bless you, brother.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, Terry. Jill? Okay. Pat?
Thank you for the time. You've probably seen the pool will officially close tonight at the close of business, and they will be draining it tomorrow morning to begin work. So we're excited to get that done. We did have a rather lengthy recreation board meeting last week. It was a great one. And they are going to be submitting several things before you guys for consideration from that meeting. We did have our youth sports summit this past Saturday morning. And I thank the mayor for being there and being supportive and encouraging of everything that we're trying to do. I do have the financial reports from all the youth sports organizations, so if you guys care to see any of that, I have those. So that's, other than that, we are scrambling right now, trying to get ready for spring season in every sport. So we will be busy for the next several weeks. Thank you.
I have a question, if I may.
Sure.
I know at one point, the rec board was interested, and since we're in the budget period, of having somebody, management-wise, I know that was talks in the air, you know, for help for you. Just, I'm just putting that, trying to see where we are in that quantum sphere.
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
The mayor and I agreed that we would leave that out of this year's budget.
Okay, all right.
So I'm managing, thank you.
All right, I just wanted, yes, sir. Just wanted to make, okay.
Pat, how much was the software we purchased to help you? Will it give you a little bit of a break
It would help
Scheduling the
tremendously.
fields and stuff. I know we're not in that season, so it remains to be seen, but
It would help us tremendously, because especially with all the travel ball organizations we're dealing with now, with the software, they would be able to sign up for practice, schedule practice, and make a payment online. Right now, they are bringing me hard copies to my office and dropping checks off. So it's kind of a very difficult system we're running at the
Mayor,
moment.
is that something that got caught up in the governor's retractions of the money?
Well, actually, that could not get implemented by December 30th, so it never was purchased. So it's in the budget that you currently have. So as soon as the budget's passed, we can release Pat to purchase that.
I thought we
So
had
it's really
approved,
carried.
we had approved that,
I
though.
thought we had already approved
For the
that.
CARES Act
The
funding.
CARES Act money.
But the CARES Act, you had to have it implemented by December 30th in order to purchase it with CARES Act money, and we could not purchase it with CARES Act money because it couldn't be implemented by then.
I thought we covered all that.
The software company contacted Jeff Montgomery shortly after you guys passed that and said they could not implement it before the end of December.
But then I thought we went and found another RFQ with someone else to put it in.
No.
That was Citizen Serve.
That was, okay.
That's a planning and building module.
Okay.
And we can pull it out and put it on the next agenda and just bring it to you, but it is part of it. It is currently budgeted in the proposed budget.
What's that amount again? Was it 30?
24,000.
24,000. Does anybody have any designs on pulling that out of the budget? Because if it's not going to be pulled out of the budget, we can put it on as a line item resolution in the next meeting.
I wouldn't pull it out.
I don't plan on
We'll
pulling
pull
it
it
out.
out at all.
But now it's 24,000 that we're not going to get reimbursed for.
Correct.
But you do have it in
But
the
I do
budget.
have it budgeted.
But it
Yes,
is budgeted.
It is budgeted.
Yeah.
Put it on
Get
a
it back,
separate
though,
line item and
because
do it next
bring it
meeting.
in sports,
Right.
yeah.
No, we can just, it doesn't have to be in the budget. We just put it, we just,
Yeah,
pass
we
a
can,
resolution.
yeah, we can do a resolution. I can put it on the next agenda. That way, if you don't pass the budget tool, it would help, it would have helped Pat with the spring sports in particular.
Yeah,
Go
and I
ahead
think it's
get it
okay.
done.
We could get it next meeting. You'd be fine with that, wouldn't you?
Sure.
Or is it going
absolutely.
to take the software company 6 more months to implement
Yeah.
it?
How long does it actually take them?
We
to
don't
put it-
know, but
implement
the
it?
quicker we get it approved, the quicker we can get it implemented.
I've been told 3 months of training.
Okay. Okay,
Jeez.
so we're behind.
Everything's behind because of
Say the least.
COVID. It really is. Everything's behind.
I didn't realize that, I thought once we approved that expense, well, it did say to be reimbursed by CARES Act in the resolution.
Correct.
But I wasn't aware that that never happened, so apologize.
No worries.
Okay.
I thought it happened as well.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Chief Ellis?
Good afternoon. I'd like to just give you a quick update on how busy the fire department's been. So in December, we ran 135 calls, and I pulled some numbers. Since July, we haven't been under 100 calls. Obviously, with Hurricane Sally in September, that was our busiest month with 222, but we're averaging somewhere around 100 or a little over for each month right now. And for the year of 2020, we ran 1,339 calls. That's an increase of 313 runs over 2019. So we're managing well, but we're definitely becoming a very busy department. We've got great people that are handling the calls, but I just thought I'd let you know what we're doing call-wise, so. Thank you.
Chief? Sir. We didn't have your fundraiser last year, right?
No, sir.
And you're going to have it this year.
We don't know what we're going to do yet. Right now, it's on the back burner, yeah.
How do you make up that budget shortfall? Didn't you raise like $25,000 the year before net or more maybe?
It was, yeah, I think it was around.
25?
It was a little more than that, but it's just that's a shortfall that we've got right now.
Okay.
So, thank you.
I just say that so that the council hears that and knows that there's you know, that you have fundraisers. The city, we don't have a fundraiser for the city, right? We don't just go out and throw a party and raise money for the city, but the fire department does to help themselves out, and that is.
And we had great, great response to that, and then COVID, and we're looking at trying to do it again for sure, once we can actually do something, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Lieutenant Hammer?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just bring you up to date on a couple things. Excuse me. We are doing candidate selection Friday and the following Monday. We've had a fairly decent, turnout and interest. We're still receiving applications, so I hope that before it's over with, we, have a good turnout to look at candidates for selection. We're hoping to get 4. We would love to hire 4. That's pretty lofty expectations, but that's what we would like to have that many to hire from. I would like to make you aware that we have a new animal control officer. His name is Will Newsom. He came to us from the Public Works Department, and he's done a wonderful job. I've heard a lot of feedback from the public, and I'm sure you're aware that pets in the city of Fairhope can sometimes be a very passionate discussion between an animal control officer and a pet owner. It can be an interesting discussion. He does a really good job, and he's got a good demeanor, and I've heard a lot of good things about him. Today was the first day that we started a traffic detail on a traffic grant, so it's not costing the city any money at all, from what I'm aware. And it went real well because, we do, probably our main complaint is, one of our main complaints, reoccurring complaints, is traffic complaints. And we all know what the traffic is like in Fairhope. So we look for this detail and this grant to help that situation. And we've also added a traffic unit. I had one guy that was specifically assigned to traffic, and I now have 2. And we're getting some more equipment so that we can get some more data, some more the speed strips. We've got 2 trailers now. One of the message boards that records data and records speeds, and then we have another one that records the number of cars. And honestly, you'd be shocked at the numbers to this trailer, even from a street. Excuse me, from a street in a residential area like Pecan. If you had any idea how many cars went down Pecan Street in a 2-week period, I mean, it just blew my mind. So and that's in one direction, but that's some of the stuff we're doing to try to help to slow down some of these speeds and get some of these residents some help for these complaints that they're having when it comes to traffic. That's all I got.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Michael?
Just a couple things real quick. The substation project's still going. We got all the load over onto the new transformer at Twin Beech while they're working on the second one there. So, but sleeping much better at night because I know that transformer can handle everything. And then the second one is I talked to my trouble crew today, and they're through 2020's backlog of streetlights after Sally. So now we're starting on all the work orders we've got in January.
Okay.
So hopefully as we get parts in, everybody in the Gulf Coast is trying to get streetlight parts. And so as we get parts in, we have them go out and put them up.
Okay.
So hopefully not too much longer, we'll be caught up totally.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Jason?
Mine's quick. I don't really have a whole lot. Since Richard's not here, bring up Church Street. They're still working on drainage at Oak Street, so they're not moving at a very fast pace right now. Drainage, I think, turned out to be a bigger animal than what they had expected. And I've got on our side 6, I believe, now advertised on our website for employees. Had 2 we lost, and then 4 were carryovers from I don't know how far back, but we're finally trying to get them filled. So, yeah, I don't know yet if we had any applicants yet or not, but hopefully we will. We're very shorthanded. We were lucky enough to have 2 that got to come back due to sickness. Theirs was a mild case, but we had 2 back. The chief operator at the wastewater plant is still down, but his is not COVID-related. Hopefully he'll be back. He's in our prayers. He's had some very serious health issues, but hopefully he'll be back in the coming days. But if y'all have any questions, we're just doing what we can do to keep the maintenance caught up and keep stations going.
Questions, Councilman? Thank you, John.
Stay safe, guys.
Hunter?
First, I think, just wanted to highlight a little bit about our meeting this month, and as y'all know, council rotates on the planning commission. Councilman Conyers kind of drew the short straw, because this is one of the busiest planning commissions.
That was by design.
Yeah. This is one of the busiest planning commission meetings I've ever had in my 15 years, so I wanted to just thank, and also COVID has presented some challenges for our staff, and I just wanted to thank them publicly for the work they've done. Buford King has been kind of heroic helping me and some of the shortages we've had and keeping the ball rolling on a lot of very large cases over the last couple of months. So we've had, if you would have walked into our office today, a lot of our planners were stuffing envelopes, helping getting legal requirements met and advertisements out. So just wanted to thank them and put a little bit of a spotlight on the hard work they've done the last couple of months.
Quick question on the timing of those. I had a few folks reach out to me recently, and what is the notification period? I mean, how far in advance should they be receiving a letter if they're within the certain, required proximity of a project or a
It varies. Different type of cases. Sometimes it's just adjacent property owners. Sometimes it's within 300 feet. Those typically go out. We usually get those out early, so that's one of those things that if we don't get them out as early as we usually do, this month we're kind of pushing our legal limit just because of our challenges in the volume and reviewing cases and making sure they're actually going to be on the agenda. So that's usually a week's notice. We try to get those out 2 weeks before a meeting in the mail. So we're all under tremendous challenges to meet these deadlines, both us to review plans, the development side to get things back to us in a week, meeting advertisements have to be in the paper, meeting letters that have to go out to adjacent property owners. So, I hear that complaint a lot, that we should be able to get that to them earlier, and it's just a challenge that every planning commission in the state has.
Well, and you throw in the timing, I'm guessing we're on February 1st.
Right.
For meeting, so.
It's an incredible challenge for everyone involved in that, and everyone would like a little bit more time. That's where packets will be on the website tomorrow for those cases. So we always encourage anyone, if you receive a letter, there's a site plan usually attached to that letter. But if you want more information, we put an agenda and packet on our website on the Planning Commission calendar, and that has more detailed information, staff reports, things like that about the case.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to remind everybody, though, if you want to reach out to the council about Planning Commission issues, to contact Councilman Jimmy Conyers, who's our representative right now.
For the next 8 months.
For the next 8 months.
Put his number up there.
Yeah, it's his number, yeah. Can we flash his cell number on the screen?
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Eric? Okay. We'll move into the agenda real quick. A lot of this doesn't require a lot of discussion. We'll skip number 5 because that's a public hearing, so I know that Planning Department will brief us on that. Number 6 and 7, I believe those are all. Hunter, are you going to brief us on 6 and 7 as well? The annexation is 6. I mean, that really needs no explanation, but 7 we may have questions on 7, which is the Parker Road.
I can help explain that.
Would that be Richard typically?
And I do have some information from Richard on that one.
Okay. All right. Number 8. Terry, are you going to address number 8? Okay. If we have questions on number 9, non-conforming lots, that would be Hunter. Number 10, the cancellation of that InterGov software. Was that the software that we were speaking about? That wasn't it?
That was the planning and building software.
And this was another one that's been caught up in the...
Munis would not delete it or stop charging us without us actually canceling it.
I'm sorry.
So InterGov was the original contract. We did Citizen Serve instead of InterGov, and we never canceled the InterGov contract, so this is just housekeeping.
I got you. Okay. No, it says it wasn't ordered by the deadline, so it couldn't be reimbursed by CARES Act, so we were canceling because of that.
Right. They could not implement it by the December 30th deadline. That's why we went with another vendor.
I got you. Okay. Item 11 is the selection of Thompson Engineering to perform professional engineering services, the replacement of the wells 2 and 9. Jason, you'd be available to answer questions about that? And I think that I'm right, so correct me if I'm wrong, Jason. So we're not really replacing wells 2 and 9. We're really rebuilding wells 2 and 9, right? The pumps and whatnot. I mean, they're not moving locations. I mean. Okay. Pumps and motors, right? Okay. Item 12 is to award internet services for North Section Street and Quail Creek. That North Section Street is the police station and City Hall, or?
Police station.
Police station. Jeff, yeah, I was just about to look for you. Jeff is here if you have questions about that. Item 13, the fuel canopy. That's down at Public Works. Who would answer questions about that when we get to that? I think that we can handle it. It's the fuel canopy at Public Works. Go ahead and ask that question now if you'd like.
Yeah, it's just.
You're going to address it to the mayor or Kim?
Or the mayor, I don't know if you, as far as the canopy, that fuel cell, you know, we were having some discussions of actually even moving that fuel cell inside the airstrip. Right now, it's outside the gate safety-wise.
This is at the Public Works building, not at the airport.
Is this about the fuel cell?
No, it's fuel, you know, where our vehicles, our city vehicles go to fuel.
It's not the fuel cell at the airport?
It is not.
Oh,
it is
okay,
not.
okay,
This is
I'm
just
sorry.
at the warehouse.
Excuse me.
It's just the canopy over the fuel tanks.
Okay, I apologize. I thought you said the airport. I was supposed to say. Okay, thank you.
But you make a good point when that comes up.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, item 14 is a purchase of a Ford Explorer for the police department. That's something that's been pulled out of the budget. It's budgeted, correct?
It's actually reimbursable by insurance.
Oh, that was the one for the insurance
Yes.
loss. Okay. Okay. Okay, item 15 is the purchase of a 2021 Dodge Ram and a 1500 Crew Cab pickup for the Water and Sewer Department. That's the one. Is that one that's going to be, you have it in your budget, right? And so it's kind of pulling it out of the budget and pushing it forward, because a lot of these you have to get them now. You have to order them now to hope to get them this year.
Correct. We couldn't even order. We had ordered Fords in the past and could not do that because they cut off their ordering date January 21st. So we're going with Dodge to be able to get that, but it's still, we're looking at like a 3-month window.
Three
Right.
months.
If not a little bit longer. Yeah.
I saw the question from someone asking, the maintenance department didn't have any problem with the Dodge. I mean, it's a
They did not.
Pretty simple.
No, they've been very helpful and can share parts and
Okay.
everything.
Okay. Item 16, the procurement of the replacement control panel at the lift station. Terry, would we ask you about that? Would we ask the electric, Michael? Jason? Oh, yeah, lift station. Well, there's no gas there. I'm sorry. It's going to be a long night.
Terry,
Jason?
I'd be interested in your answer.
He looked at me and shook his head no, and I thought, well, I'll be okay. Talk about me when I leave. All right, so Jason will answer any questions about that. Item 17, the updated job descriptions for the Streets and Facilities Maintenance Supervisor. Mayor, is that going to be you?
I can address that. This is just, again, this was something that was done back in November when we kind of reorganized that department, but we never approved a pay increase for the new department head. So wanted to be able to go ahead and do that.
Did you run that by the Personnel Board? I believe you.
We did.
Yes, you did, right? Okay, and then can you address 18 as well?
Again, this is just a reorganization to make things, run more efficiently. It's a reorganization of the Treasury and Finance departments. So, and you'll have all the information there in your budget. I mean, not in your budget, but in your meeting agenda.
Have you talked to Personnel Board about that as well?
I have.
They okay with it?
Yes, sir. I wouldn't say, but let me clarify. I did not run that through the whole board.
Right.
So just
Well,
my
but
contact
you
with the
talked
personnel.
to
Yes.
key Personnel Board
Yes.
members. Okay.
And we have also taken all these job descriptions that we have reworked and sent them through to Auburn for them to review too, to give those back to us again with any additional recommendations. But we formatted them to meet their criteria.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, very good. Number 19 is pretty self-explanatory. The poll banners, the appointments that council members mentioned in their comments. An off-premise license is 22, and another off-premise license, number 23. Mr. Attorney, City Attorney, you had something you wanted to walk on a contract extension?
Koki and I, we initially thought that the last extension was, we pushed it to the end of February, but our purchasing department said that only brought us till the end of January, but we just need additional time. It's actually finished. It's just reviewing to make sure the corrections that were made between the two parties are actually in the final document.
Have you got a resolution drawn up that we can walk on? And so I'll ask you at the beginning of the meeting. We thought this took us to the end of February. This will take us to the end of February on that. Okay. It's just a vending machine, so I don't think anybody should have a heartache. Will you pass that out? Or you can do it an hour before the meeting.
I just got a handwritten one and read it.
Okay, I'll have you read it then, enter it into the minutes. We'll ask for an amendment to the agenda to add that. And we will adjourn and start back in 5 minutes with the meeting. Thank you.
Sounds good.